Another concept that's important to understand is that the partial pressure of oxygen is completely dependent on the partial pressure of the alveoli. So, this is the concept. The reason is we just discussed the concept of the diffusion. That's how diffusion happens. There's a higher level of a partial pressure of oxygen in the alveolar sac, and then that pressure moves down into the lower partial pressure of the plasma until it equilibrizes, and then that becomes oxygenated blood. So, if we're talking about hiking a mountain, right, where there's lower atmospheric pressure, maybe we're talking about 700 millimeters of mercury up in that mountain, you're actually changing that how much oxygen is in your plasma. So if the atmospheric pressure is 700 millimeters per mercury, you would multiply that by 0.21 to get the amount of pressure that oxygen is exerting, and the amount would be 147 millimeters per mercury. Then you would inspire and mix it with water vapor just the same, right? And then that would dilute it, and it would bring it down to 137 millimeters per mercury. Then it would go down to the alveolar sac where it's diluted again. And then we're talking about something like maybe 90 millimeters per mercury at the alveolar sac, right? So then what happens is the oxygenated blood comes in through the pulmonary artery. The partial pressure of oxygen at this point is 40 millimeters per mercury. It goes into the alveolar sac, and it does still diffuse. So the area here, there's more partial pressure of oxygen here than here. So still, it would send oxygen over to the red blood cell until they reach the same number, which is oxygenated blood here. In partial pressure of oxygen is now 90 millimeters of mercury, whereas before it was 100. And what's important is to understand how this affects us. When you're looking at this chart, if your partial pressure of oxygen is 90 here, you follow this curve all the way up until you hit the line, and you see really like you're still at 95% oxygenation. It doesn't matter all that much. The